was because I had a child who was very sick. I had a child who had a huge erythema migrans rash. He had swollen knees. He had 8 out of 10 positive bands on his test from LabCorp. He was actually a poster child for the mainstream definition of Lyme disease, except that even though we lived in Chappaqua, New York, in Westchester County in the middle of a tick forest, for 7 years, I couldn't get him diagnosed.
7 years.
And he was so sick. So I was a science journalist, a very skeptical science journalist. I still am a skeptical science journalist, but I had a very sick child, and I had to cross the line and go to this very radical conference to figure out if maybe I didn't have to throw my kid away. You know, maybe I could save him. And when I was in line to get coffee, Dr. Ligner was there. I was telling him the story, and I still remember to this day how upset he got at this story. His face turned all kinds of colors, his whole body changed, and he said to me, and he didn't know who I was. I was just, and in fact I really was just another mother. I hadn't gone there as a journalist at all. And he said to me, I keep scraping people off the floor. And my kid certainly needed to be scraped off the floor. That was my older son. It turned out, since actually he did have a straightforward case of Lyme disease, ultimately he was diagnosed, he was treated, he needed aggressive treatment, but he got better. But where Dr. Ligner really came through in helping us enormously was with my second kid, who had a different presentation of Lyme disease. He just slept all the time. And I didn't want to think he had Lyme disease. The first experience of Lyme disease had been so horrible. I really hoped that this other kid had like anything but Lyme disease. And I actually took him, you know, we went all over trying to figure out what was the matter with him. Even the Lyme doctors told me they didn't think he had Lyme disease. And finally I knew I had to take him to Dr. Ligner, because Dr. Ligner has the most exhaustive, you could almost call it obsessive, except that that kind of obsession is actually what's required to do the job. Exhaustive, meticulous way of sorting through every bit of evidence. If he has any doubt, he sends his patients to experts at teaching hospitals all around Manhattan, and he sorts and parses through every little bit of evidence to find every other thing that this could possibly be. And finally, after, you know, it was maybe took him a month to do this with my kid, he finally said to me, he has Lyme disease. And he did in fact prove it. He got other tests that they weren't even controversial tests, but he actually proved he had Lyme disease, and he was then treated for Lyme disease, and he got better from that bout of Lyme disease as a result of this. So I just want to say that this is a doctor that's enormously helped me and my family in being just an extremely meticulous, intelligent, and skeptical diagnostician. And when he comes to Lyme disease, that is what I feel that he brings to bear on it. So without any further ado, here is Dr. Ligner to speak to you.
Thank you so much, Pam.